I'm glad you're with us today on A Look at the Book. Of course, there's a war raging right now in the Middle East, and forces that come against Israel should know better from past history. I'll remind you, during the 1991 Gulf War, Iraq was preparing to launch chemical and biological weapons into Israel. But on the morning of the planned attack, something unexplainable happened. The wind patterns that always blew in the same direction inexplicably changed. The launch was aborted because the weapons would have blown back at Iraq. The U.S. military described the strange event as miraculous. Meteorologists couldn't understand it. Later in that same war, Iraq fired 39 missiles into Israel. Many of those Scud missiles were intercepted by Patriot missiles from the United States, but a few still got through. One of the bombs hit a garbage dump but did not explode. Another landed a few feet from a gas station and once more never blew up. Two other missiles drifted harmlessly into the Mediterranean Sea. Not one single Israeli building or person was harmed by those bombs. Military experts also classify those events, along with the Six-Day War of 1967, the Yom Kippur War of 1973, and the Hamas terror attacks of 2015, and the terror attacks just 3 years ago, as miraculous. They're examples of God's hand of protection resting on Israel. For the little nation no bigger than the state of Rhode Island is still here. You know, the Book of Esther describes God's protection of Israel. Esther is only one of two books in the Bible that never mentions the name of God. Song of Solomon is the other, by the way. But God's hand is all over the Book of Esther. Esther is like an incredible movie plot. The book has a hero, a villain, a leading lady, and a happy ending. Esther is a Jewish orphan who's taken captive and raised by her cousin Mordecai. You'll find the story beginning in Esther chapter 2. Eventually, Esther becomes queen and uncovers a plot by the king's advisor, that's Haman, the villain, to kill all the Jews. But in the end, Haman's plan is blown up. Read the 7th chapter of the Book of Esther, describing the plan where the king discovers it through Esther, and Haman is hung on the gallows that he built to hang Mordecai. The Bible says that in the 7th chapter of Esther, verse 10, for when the king heard the plan, he exclaimed, "Hang him on it, hang Haman." So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai, and the king's wrath was subsided. If the people who oppose Israel would just read the Bible, they would never raise their hand against God's grace.